can't wait for you to tackle the F-Zero game. Can you try F-Zero GX, please? Edging towards the F-Zero series. F-Zero GX Masterclass
F-Zero
X
using
GX
Silver
F-Zero run at Mario Kart World and for F-Zero whenever you're ready for it. You gonna do F-Zero? Wow. This one has been a long time coming. Since I began this challenge series where I beat racing games with characters and cars in low tiers, there have been a few titles that get requested in the comments section of almost every video I've uploaded. One is Star Wars Episode 1 Pod Racer. Stay tuned for that. And the other is F-Zero X on the Nintendo 64, along with F-Zero GX on the GameCube. Outside of F-Zero 99 on the Switch, I have never played an F-Zero title before. This game features a huge cast of characters to play as. My younger self's mind would have been blown to pieces with how many there are to choose from. Every character or pilot drives a signature machine. The machines have stats that are based on body strength, boost strength, and grip strength. These are ranked through letters, with A being the best and E being the worst. Body strength is how much energy your machine has. Boost strength determines the acceleration and deceleration rate of the machine's booster, and grip strength is the rating of your machine's handling. Each machine also has weight. Your weight determines how well you can corner, accelerate, and handle your machine while airborne. For F-Zero X, it's considered that lower weight machines perform far better than ones with more weight. There's a load of information when it comes to fully comprehending each machine, and I would have been lost without this machine tier list guide on crazyGameNerd.web. Almost all the information I got for this video was thanks to the team behind this website, so be sure to give it a look through if you want to learn more about F-Zero. A direct link to the website can be found at the top of the description. Now let's cut to the chase and go all the way down to one specific machine and pilot, Black Shadow and Black Bull. Despite having top tier body and grip strengths, Black Bull has been considered the worst machine in F-Zero X due to its bottom tier boost strength and heavy weight. You've all requested this one for so long and have been very patient with me. I couldn't be more excited to finally see if you can beat F-Zero X using only Black Bull. For this challenge, I'll be playing on the original Nintendo 64 release, and will be attempting to complete all of the cups on the hardest difficulty, which is Master. There's just one slight problem. Master difficulty and Black Bull aren't available at the start and need to be unlocked. They're both unlocked by beating all of the cups on Expert. However, thanks to nearly every single game back in the 90s having cheat codes, we can unlock every track, machine, and Master difficulty by using this code on the title screen. This will allow me to have access to everything from the start, while still going into this challenge completely blind. That being said, before jumping into Master difficulty, I opted to begin my journey on Standard so that I could get a good feel for how the game is played. So while I do that, let's take a second to talk about how the cups and races in F-Zero X work. There are 5 cups in total, with the Joker and X cups being unlocked as you progress. Each cup has 6 tracks. Before racing on each track, you can adjust your machine's engine settings. Having higher acceleration allows for better handling and a faster start, while moving towards top speed will give you more speed at the cost of your acceleration and handling. While the engine settings are up to preference, skilled players have found settings that are best suited to handle each track in case you might be unsure of what to do. Like a usual Grand Prix, you receive points at the end of a race depending on the position you place in. This ranges from 100 points for first, all the way down to a measly 15 for 30th. Every race puts you up against 30 other pilots. There's a boost start technique that you can use to get better acceleration right as the race begins, but the timing of the start boost will vary by each machine. You can boost your machine after the first lap, and each boost will cost some of your energy. There are also boost pads in most tracks throughout the game. If you have enough speed while going off a hill or an incline, you can go airborne and hover over the track. And when you dive down, you'll gain a ton of speed. There are also jump plates in some tracks that will launch you in the air. While some are mandatory to move through the track, others can be used as shortcuts if you're skilled and clever enough. You can perform a drift by tapping the Z or R button and making a hard turn. You can also attack other machines by double tapping the Z or R button to move from side to side. This movement can also be used in cutting corners as an alternative to drifting. You can do a spin attack by holding Z or R and double tapping the button you're not holding. This isn't too useful as it'll slow you down, but it's great for when all the machines are bunched together. Attacking and destroying a machine will give you a star. Every 5 machines you destroy in a race will give you an extra life. Your lives can be used to restart a race. Once they're gone, you'll have to go back to the beginning of the cup if you crash and burn, or want a fresh start. When you're attacked, boost, or hit a wall, you lose energy. You can replenish energy either by moving through a pit or by destroying another machine. If you run out of energy, you can still race, but if you even so much as slightly bump a wall or another machine, you'll explode and be put out of the race. You're given a few seconds during this destruction and will still move, so if you're right near the finish line while your machine is kicking the bucket, you could still clear the race. Losing your machine will cause you to retire and force a restart. The CPUs aren't so lucky with this though. If you massacre a machine during a race, they're out for good and or no points at the end. This could be very useful if you're losing against someone and want to take care of them and move up in the standings. After finishing the first race and earning your placement, your next race will give you a rival, which is the pilot that's first in the standings. Taking out your rival will move the marker to a new one. Each pilot also has cannon rivals. They may not be marked, but they'll go out of your way to attack you during the race. For example, Black Shadow's rivals will always be Captain Falcon, Dr. Stewart, Pico, Samurai Goro, and Michael Chain. Whoever has the most points at the end of the cup wins, and even gets some specialty fireworks to commemorate their victory. Second and third place also get some fireworks too, but they're a bit more of a slap in the face. That's just a small description of the gameplay and mechanics. F-Zero X goes very deep, and if you'd like to learn more, I'll leave a link in the description to this incredibly thorough and detailed video by WMJ. Okay, now let's get back to the challenge. Starting with the Jack Cup and playing through the standard difficulty was a lot harder than I thought it would be. To my credit, I was still getting used to the controls and finding a feel for Black Bull, but every time I turned, I was losing speed significantly. This was likely due to the fact that I opted for max speed in every race. In my first run through, I pulled off a few single-digit finishes in Mute City, Silence, and Sand Ocean, but Devil's Forest and Big Blue saw much lower placements. This got me a finishing spot in the top 10, which wasn't too bad given my minimal knowledge of the game. This is without a doubt the fastest racing game I've played so far. Every track lasts about a minute and a half each, and there's very little room for mistakes. It seemed like even the smallest bit of slowdown from Black Bull was devastating, and I was losing a ton of speed from even the slightest movements from my controller. It's probably just a skill issue though. So I went to the practice mode to get better acquainted with Black Bull and sharpen my skills. Playing through almost every course in the Jack Cup helped me out a ton, but I continued to lose speed and slipped into a drift while hardly touching the joystick. Suppose that's how Black Bull is played, I guess. Just need to get used to it. Going through the Jack Cup again, I saw major improvements in placing the top 10 in every race, except for Port Town. Still, I went from being in 9th in my first playthrough all the way to 5th. A bit more fine-tuning of the controls, and this challenge was in the bag. In my third attempt of the Jack Cup, I actually managed first place in Mute City for the first time. I got another one in Devil's Forest too. The other tracks stayed consistent with finishes in the top 5, but Port Town was just one that I couldn't seem to get properly. There wasn't a single lap where I didn't slam into a wall or basically spin out from a harsh turn. While I was in the top 3 leaving Big Blue, I got 25th in Port Town, which led to another 5th place finish. It was a tad disappointing to be doing so well only to choke right at the end, but I stayed optimistic and ran it back again. Now this time, I was really killing it. After a dazzling first place finish in Big Blue, I was in the lead overall, being slightly ahead of Dr. Stewart. If I could just place decently in Port Town, victory would be mine. This time around in Port Town, I slammed into walls way less and started strafing left and right more. It took some getting used to, and it was far more efficient than using the joystick to turn. I placed in 9th, which was the best I had ever done on this track, though it wasn't quite enough to beat Dr. Stewart. But a win was right within my grasp, and my next time around, I finally put all the pieces together and made it happen. Yay! It was a small win, but it was mine, and I was so happy to finally feel like I was getting this game down. I took my talents to the Queen Cup next, and managed to get a spot on the podium on my first try, though I did retire a few times in Whiteland.
You know, they didn't tell me I couldn't go on the side. I believe. I did not believe.
I followed that up by getting 4th on my next playthrough. Now you might be asking yourself why I'm being a bit more short and sweet with this cup. Well, it's because at this point, I finally felt as though I had a good understanding of how the game is played, and I wanted to take my dumb confidence and low skill back to the Jack Cup on Master difficulty, just to see how I would do. And well, yeah, I got my ass handed to me. My best placement was 9th in Mute City, and everywhere else was okay, but below the top 10. I finished in 12th place by the end, which I was alright with because, after all, it was Master difficulty, and I had only been playing for a few hours. Practice makes perfect, as the old saying goes, and I spent the rest of my stream grinding through the Master difficulty, forcing myself into the Lion's Den to continue my F-Zero training. After a little over an hour of continuous run-throughs and resets, the best I could do was 11th place, just one place higher than before. While I did feel as though I was getting better, something felt a bit off about this game, but that was tomorrow's problem. Continuing on the next day, I grinded the Jack Cup some more. I experimented with different engine settings and got strafing down a little bit better, but no matter what I did, it still wasn't enough to even have a chance at a win at this difficulty. And that's when the silliest piece of gaming knowledge was brought to my attention. The whole time I was playing this game, I was using my HoriPad. It's a controller that's exclusive to Japan and has a smaller classic-style controller feel to it, along with a joystick that resembles a GameCube joystick. And it's a great controller. I, along with many other speedrunners I know, use it to speedrun Mario 64. That game has a ton of precise movement to pull off tricks and tech, but wouldn't you know that regardless of how great it may handle on other games, this joystick was the whole reason behind why I couldn't seem to improve. My chat had brought this to my attention before, but I thought it was all bupkis. I had a nice controller, so why would that make such a big difference? Well, unbeknownst to me at the time, F-Zero X is literally the only game on the 64 that requires an original joystick to play it properly. The gameplay is very sensitive, and was optimized with the OG N64 controller in mind. I don't fully quite understand it myself, and I won't sit here pretending like I know what I'm talking about, but there's another great video that goes in depth and explains what makes the N64 controller the best way to play F-Zero X. This video by Seppi can also be found in the description if you'd like to check it out. So having made no progress during the stream, I decided to put this challenge on hold and ventured out to my local game store to see if they had an N64 controller, which they did. Actually, they had 4 of them, but only one had an immaculate joystick, and I felt destiny had called me into that store to purchase it. By the way, be sure to support your local game stores and any local stores. With my new controller in hand, I decided to give it the old college try during my next stream to see if it really made all the difference. I went to the practice mode to get used to this controller since it had been quite a long time since I used an original, and soon after, I took the training wheels off, made sure my engine settings were good, and gave master difficulty another shot. Even with some minor mistakes here and there, I could already tell there was a huge difference between the controllers. Now when I turn, I'm not drastically dropping speed. In fact, I was starting to gain even more speed while moving around the track. It was still going to take some time, but on my first try in Mute City, I got a 7th place finish, which was a major improvement. It was all coming together now, and it felt like the real challenge could finally begin. Going into Silence, I adjusted my engine settings a bit to try and give myself a better start. This track is all about speed, but I still wanted to make sure I had a decent control of Black Bull while I got used to the controls again. I ended up in 9th place, about on par with what I was getting before, but better than no improvement at all. Sand Ocean was a whole other demon though. My first try, I hit a wall pretty early on and was forced to reset. After the retry, I placed 11th. Not great by any means, but I stayed optimistic. Devil's Forest was another track that I saw a lot of trouble in. This one introduces terrain that'll slow you down if you touch it. Strafing would have been perfect here, but I was still getting the hang of things and I definitely didn't have it all together quite yet. I did pretty poorly on my first attempt, but after resetting, I passed through in 9th. Big Blue was up next and quickly ended this run. To keep it short, don't go too fast on the M&M's tube cylinder.
Yeah, this is much better than before. Until that happened.
While it wasn't great to have lost, I was finally starting to have a lot of fun playing F-Zero X, especially now knowing that my pay-to-win strategy was working out in my favor. So over the next few hours, I continuously grinded the Jack Cup, learning more and more after each attempt, and being told constantly that I need to wash my back, which was probably accurate since I'd been sitting in this chair for so long. By the end of the stream, I still hadn't got past the Jack Cup, but that didn't matter. I was insanely hooked on this game and was excited and determined to see this challenge through. The next day, I wasted no time and headed straight for the Jack Cup to continue the grind. For a little while, things were still about the same as they had been the previous day. After a poor performance in Big Blue in one of my attempts, I restarted the whole cup and continued on as usual. This time, things would go much differently. It started with a first place finish in Mute City, followed by 3rd in Silence. Sand Ocean was still a rocky track for me, and I barely got 4th place in the end. Devil's Forest was crazy. It wasn't perfect, but I had fine-tuned my strafing capability and schmooved through some of the turns I had struggled with previously. By the final lap, I was moving so fast that I actually took the lead and got first. This put me in the lead overall by exactly 1 point, and it was the first time I had ever been in the lead so late in this cup. Big Blue was another story though. I struggled on this track so much. On my first try, I ended up exploding shortly after the 3rd lap had started. In my second attempt, I was just looking to do okay and get out of there, so I accepted an 8th place finish. With one track left to go, I was in 2nd place in the standings, with Billy having a 37-point lead ahead of me. That wasn't all that much, and a win wasn't out of the realm of possibility quite yet. Port Town was the final track, and another one I never did too well in, mainly because of the tight turns you have to make in the beginning. It was just so easy to hit the walls and lose all your speed. But this time, my strafing abilities ranked up a bit higher, and by the start of the 3rd lap, I was in the top 5. Funnily enough, I unintentionally ran into Billy when it came time to cut those tight turns. My brain hadn't fully comprehended what I had done there either. Further into this race, I saw myself in the lead, but it was unfortunately at the cost of all my energy. Not wanting to blow up, I played the rest of this track safe and ended up in 4th. The points in the top 4 leading into this race were fairly close, and it could have been anyone's game.
No, I won. Yes! Let's go! Oh, 3 points. 3 points. 1 Grand Prix down.
An absolute nail-biter of a finish. Now I could finally watch Black Bull ride through to the end and be placed on that sweet, victorious podium.
We get Hanks for playing.
Time to move on to the Queen Cup. The first track is in Sector Alpha. It has a big old loop in the beginning, and a very narrow straight section, which is great for attacking other machines, or hitting the wall and losing a lot of energy. For my first time through, I thought I played this track somewhat decently. I got 6th place and was content. The next track is in Red Canyon, and supposedly has a lot of jumps. I should also note that I opted to play most of these tracks up to this point around here in my engine settings. It's just what I felt most comfortable with. There were certainly plenty of jumps to hit, and dropping from the air to the next one at Mach speeds was so satisfying. This is also the first track to have 2 separate sections for the pit. With how closed off and easy it was to bump into other machines here, I could see the need for it. This track was pretty quick, and I finished in 9th. Devil's Forest 2 is the 3rd track, and has a few hills that you can speed off of to take wing. I wasn't doing so decently here as I had been on the first 2 tracks, so in the 3rd lap, I tried to do something risky.
Wait. Oh, I could have made it. I could have made it.
I tried again on my next attempt, but chickened out.
No, we can't make it. I gave up. Nope, never mind.
I got knocked around like a rag doll in the 3rd lap and ended up retiring once more. There were no extra lives left now, so I took it nice and easy on my 3rd attempt and actually scored a 5th place finish. By this point in the cup, I was 3rd place overall, and not too far away from 2nd and 1st. With 3 more races to go, anything could happen. Like Devil's Forest, we returned to Mute City for the 4th track. This race takes place at night, and isn't a wide open track like the first one. We also get to see jump plates for the first time. Aside from a quick kill near the end of the 1st lap, not too much happened here. I went as fast as my little machine could go with me behind the controls and placed in 7th. I was still in 3rd place by the end of this race, but the gap widened even more. Sequels continue on into the 5th track with Big Blue 2. This time the cylinder was removed from the M&M's tube, and in exchange, we got a lot of quick turning. I was actually kind of killing it for the first 2 laps, and right in the beginning of the 3rd lap, I killed Baba, which was huge because they were a little over 80 points in the lead ahead of me. I ended up placing 4th by the end. I still stayed in 3rd place, but if I ended up killing Baba and Silver Nielsen in the next race, a win could potentially happen. The final track is in Whiteland. This track's description says dangerous steps. Wonder what that's all about. Lasted a whole 20 seconds on this track. Oh well, the chances of winning this cup were slim anyway. Over the next hour, I grinded the Queen Cup out. While I didn't really place that bad in other tracks, my runs more often than not died in Whiteland due to my reckless behavior and villainous tendencies.
Damn it. Oh, okay, be careful.
F-Zero really knows how to keep you on your toes. Black Bull's tankiness makes it fun to destroy other machines, and doing so can be very helpful in reaching first place. Yet at the same time, you can't be too careless when gunning for the kill. Late into the grind session, I placed 10th in Sector Alpha, and took it from there. Red Canyon shook things up a bit. While I got 5th place, everyone else finished in random spots. Whenever you start a Grand Prix, a few randomly selected pilots will always contend for top spots, unless you take them out. Guess that wasn't the case here, because I went from 10th overall all the way to 2nd. In Devil's Forest 2, I'd get a few kills, but end the race in 8th. This bumped me down to 3rd place, which wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, given how low I finished. Mute City 2 was also a bit sloppy. Blood Falcon and Hellhawk, or Bloodhawk as it's known in North America, was my rival, and also decently in 1st place. I tried my best to put him in the dirt, but he was just too fast and nimble for me. Again, I finished in 8th place, but Blood Falcon finished the race in 3rd, and Mighty Gazelle, who was in 2nd overall, ended up retiring and got no points. I was out for blood in Big Blue 2. Within 5 seconds, I had already taken out 2 other machines, but I wouldn't rest until Bloodhawk had been put to sleep. In the 2nd lap, I got a nice hit on him, and he'd soon meet his end thanks to a wall. While I didn't get the credit for the kill, I did accidentally take someone else out, which gave me 5 kills for this race and an extra life. Since Bloodhawk was taken out, this made 1st place pretty much up for grabs for anyone. If I could get him out of the race one more time and finish in a decent spot, this would be an easy win.
Don't make him fly off. Doesn't matter. Got him.
Now with my biggest obstacle gone, I spent the rest of this race focusing on getting a good spot towards the top. It was a close one near the end, and I finished in 3rd. Because the point system is so large, I wasn't all too sure if I had secured the bag.
Yes, dude, let's go. Let's go. Oh, Oh, yeah.
Yet another close call, but not as close as the Joker Cup. If it wasn't for the ability to destroy other machines, I'd be toast. With some more fireworks and a Hanks for playing, I excitedly moved on to the King Cup. It begins in a new area called Firefield. The track starts with a long, narrow ramp, which launches you into the air. You can see some of the track below, but you can skip past most of this if you're going fast enough. Later on, there's a second leap in the air, and it's a little awkward, but you're brought back down pretty quick. I exhausted almost all of my energy by the end of this race and got 9th. The second track is in Silence 2. Instead of moving in one big circle with no obstacles, Silence 2 brings in some turns and hazards, along with this little wavy part. This track can get very congested too, and it's so easy to bump into walls or other machines. I actually did notice this at the time, but I got a double kill, one of them being my rival right at the beginning of the race. I was living pretty dangerously with all this blood on my hands, and nearly ran out of energy by the end of the third lap. The pit lies right by the finish line though, so I saved myself from destruction and placed 10th. Taking out my rival along with some other machines kept me up in the standings despite my poor placements. Sector Beta was next, and this track features a huge loop that I just so happened to fall off of right at the end of it.
That didn't happen.
Similar to Whiteland, Sector Beta removes some of the walls throughout the track, welcoming in more oopsies and boo-boos. After falling off the track 3 times and making a recovery at Weenie Hut Generals, I'd quickly return to Sector Beta, not having learned any lessons.
Wait. I got a little power hungry. I'm gonna take it easy this time.
We're taking it easy.
Son of a...
Eventually, I'd get my act together and finish this track in 13th place. Obviously, that's not good, but I had to see more of what the King Cup had to offer. The 4th track is Red Canyon 2, and it's the slimmest track in the game so far. It also has a slim pit too, but that's only there for those who dare. This track is perfect for taking down your rivals and anyone else in your way. Before the end of the first lap, I already had 6 kills. It was just way too easy. I finished this one out in 6th, but also found it a bit funny that I was the only pilot to get any kills in this race.
Help! Murder!
That killing spree moved me up 5 places. I sure hope Whiteland 2 isn't too difficult. Oh boy. This track is described as a half pipe, and that's pretty much all it is. A long, floating half pipe in the sky. This track sucked to navigate through. After falling off twice, I switched my engine settings more towards acceleration to give myself better control. While I was a bit slower, I was able to get through this track and finish in 10th. That placement basically crushed any dreams of winning, but I at least got to see the final track, which is Mute City 3. This track had a lot more jump pads, which I'm sure can be used to skip significant portions of this track if you know what you're doing. These seemed to slow me down more than anything, which held me back during this race. In the end, I got 15th place and lost my spot on the podium. And with that, thus begins the King Cup grind. I'd say my biggest issues with this cup were getting used to Whiteland 2 and flying off some of the tracks too much. If you go too fast on slide inclines or off of a hill, you end up flying off the track and into the air. Whenever this happened, I was left in a panic and pretty much always lost control and fell off the track. This ended up happening a lot throughout my attempts, and thanks to my chat, I learned I can prevent this by obviously just slowing down and not boosting before the hill or incline, or by pressing the brake button. Yeah, F-Zero X's brake button is down C, which makes sense that it exists, but it's also a bit surprising given how fast this game expects you to go. This information helped me out so much. However, throughout the stream, I wouldn't see too many appearances back in Mute City 3, so I packed it in for the night and got right back to it the next day. I spent a good couple of hours running through this cup, and while the grind was starting to get a bit more frustrating, F-Zero X had a stranglehold on my heart. This game is just too damn fun, and I couldn't ever truly be mad at it. Coming off a solid first place finish in Red Canyon 2, I was tied for the lead with Roger Buster, which was the best I had done in the last few hours. My only issue now is that the next track was Whiteland 2. I hardly ever did well on this half pipe from hell, and I also had no continues left, but I kept my speed settings a little past the midway point and gave it a go.
We have a chance. There's a chance.
I couldn't believe I got 3rd place here. This meant that if I just took out Roger Buster in the last race, or placed much higher than he did, I would win.
Swig the Ghost Energy's not sponsored, but could be sponsored by this stream, please God.
I got real sweaty in Mute City 3, and while I definitely wanted to kill Roger, I instead set my sights on getting a high placement and winning that way. By the second lap, I was in 2nd place, but began to bump into walls and dropped energy fast. Near the end of the 3rd lap, I had almost no energy left, and may have blown up if the pits weren't so close by. I choked my 2nd place spot and got 4th. But Roger was nowhere to be found by the end of this race.
Yes, baby! Yes, that's the golden ticket, Charlie! Go home and don't show anyone! Don't stop for anyone! Just go home and give the family the golden ticket to go to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory!
I can't believe how often I find myself in these close call spots, but I could finally put the King Cup behind me and take on the Joker Cup. This cup starts with a familiar track from the Mario Kart series, Rainbow Road. It was an unexpected and pleasant surprise. While this track isn't too difficult, it does remove some of the side barriers occasionally, so you gotta be careful not to fall off. There's also a bunch of mines scattered around by the pits, but if you get it down, you can weave around them pretty easily. I ended up in 7th place for this race. Devil's Forest 3 was up next. It's a pretty short track that puts you upside down and right side up again. I didn't care too much for this one, mainly for the tunnel at the end. It's awkward and feels like it kills your speed, and I'm not sure why. This one ended up being another 7th place spot. Space Plant is the 3rd track, and is very similar to Big Blue. Only this track has a giant hill for you to drop down from near the end. Man, I really don't do well on these cylinders. They make me way too nervous. Past the cylinder, there's a huge ice trap in the middle of the track. I ended up slipping on this in the 2nd lap when I had no energy and exploded. Self-destruction wasn't an issue in my next attempt, and I took 9th place. Sand Ocean 2 followed after, and I loathed this track. It's very bumpy, which leads to more situations where you fly into the air when you don't want or intend to. This track also looks like a human hand drawn by a kindergartner. Probably won't see anything else like that. I did alright, at least 10th place was alright for me for the time being. Port Town 2 brought us back to some more nighttime racing. This track also brought along so many turns. This one in particular felt impossible to get through without taking a huge hit, and that was soon followed by 2 very close and tight turns that could at least be gone through with decent strafing. I was on track to get 17th place in this race, so I used my last continue and gave it another shot. While I still struggled with the turns on this track, I did much better this time around. I had no chance of getting in 1st place, but I wanted to see what the last track would be to better prepare myself. It's just a giant hand. What a weird track design to end the cup with. Yet at the same time, it was pretty badass. I wish I could have seen more of this track though. As soon as I entered it,
Oh dear, this is like, oh god. Oh my god.
I left it. Suppose that's just a small taste of things to come. Once again, this ending would start the beginning of a huge grind session that went on for hours. But at the same time, it felt really quick. I guess it's true what they say. Time flies when you're having fun.
I'll take 6. Just give me 6. Just give me 6. They'll take it.
It doesn't make a bit of difference, guys. Dende's gone, remember? The Bulls are inert.
I looked over at chat. Just gonna stop talking now. Every time I talk, I'm made a spectacle of.
I'd see another big hand appearance in an attempt where I had no chance to win, and after getting past the ice terrain, I can honestly say this track isn't really hard at all. I think this is also due to the fact that Black Bull has great handling. In my first full run of this track, I got 3rd place pretty easily. I heard this one is pretty difficult, which makes sense because a lot of the other pilots ended up falling off. But they're also on the hardest difficulty, so you'd expect them not to do that. Strange, isn't it? Fast forwarding to a great run through, I got 1st place in Rainbow Road, 4th in Devil's Forest 3, 11th in Space Plant, 10th in Sand Ocean 2 while also killing my rival, and 6th in Port Town 2, after using a reset for the sole purpose of killing my rival, which I accomplished. Leaving Port Town 2, I was in 3rd place and only 24 points behind Dr. Stewart for 1st, and 18 points behind Silver Nielsen for 2nd. Winning the race at Big Hand would be almost certain victory, so let's see how this goes.
First place gaming, baby. I think. Are you kidding me, dude?
Yeah, that's right. Because Dr. Stewart got 2nd place in the race to get 93 points, I was just shy of taking the win home. After crossing the finish line in 1st, I was certain that I had this one wrapped up and ready to go. But that's just how F-Zero is sometimes. Gotta keep an eye out on those rivals. It was definitely a blow to take the L when I was so close to 1st. But that also meant that I was ready and capable of doing it. So I packed up my silver trophy, turned my console off, and gave myself time to rest and relax for the grind ahead. The next day, I jumped straight into the Joker Cup. No warm-ups or practice mode. I knew I could win at any moment. Shortly into the stream, I finished Rainbow Road in 3rd place. I was definitely capable of clearing this track in 1st place. But knowing that I could also take my rivals out later on, I let this slide. In Devil's Forest 3, I sought to kill my rivals early on, but failed to do so in every opportunity I had, so wasting my time with this caused me to finish in 7th. I didn't even entertain trying to take anyone down in Space Plant. I just wanted to get in and get out of there. After this race, I was in 3rd place, not too far behind Leon and Mr. Ed, Mr. Ead, Mr. Ad, Mr. Ead, that guy. Correct me in the comments. Sand Ocean 2 was up, and I was still not a fan of this track. It's just too bumpy. I took my 6th place finish and got the hell out of there. This would set me pretty far back behind Leon and Mr. Peanut, though. If I wanted a shot at 1st place, I was gonna have to seek a path of destruction in Port Town 2. I had all 2 of my extra lives going into this, so it was nice knowing I had a few chances to make some magic happen. My first try, I didn't even come close to crushing my rival. My second time through, I killed Leon pretty quick, along with 4 others for an extra life. I accepted a 6th place finish, but ran into a huge problem. Mr. Beast had won the race, and the Skull got 3rd. Any chance to win now would all be reliant on taking these guys out for good on Big Hand. I failed to do this on my first attempt of this race, and I'm not gonna lie, I was extremely nervous. With so much on the line, I feel as though it'd take away the suspense of this race, and I'd much rather show it to you uncut in its entirety.
Went too ham there. It was a risky move, but I had to take it. There's no other choice. Oh, rival fell off. Let's go. Who's left? Just Leon. The great Leon. Nice. It's all of them. I think if I just win, that should be good. I think. I'm not 100% sure on that. Could be like last time. Hold. Hold. Yes, dude. Yes, I did it. 6 points, baby.
And there it is. Once again, I pulled off a stupidly clutch win and got 1st place in the Joker Cup by 6 points. After many tries and perfecting my skills, the Joker Cup was put to rest. All that was left now was the X Cup. With such an edgy name like that, it's bound to be the hardest one yet. But if you're watching this video and are familiar with this game, you know that ain't true. The X Cup puts you in another 6 races, but the twist is they're all flat and randomly generated tracks. This idea is pretty cool, but the issue is, even on master difficulty, the CPUs can't even race on these tracks to save their life. I got 1st place in almost every race, except for one where I had a little fun and tried to take down a bunch of machines. Even though it was a total stomp, the X Cup was still fun to play through, and I even got a special N64 controller fireworks display at the end. Supposedly, after finishing this cup, or the Joker Cup, I'm supposed to see something special at the the end. But I forgot to save my game after winning the Queen Cup, so oh well. I still finished every cup in the game on Master difficulty, and proved that you can beat F-Zero X using only Black Bull. Thank you all so much for watching. I know this challenge has been a long time coming, and I hope this video has rewarded your patience. Black Bull was a tank of a machine, and hard to get used to at first. For my first time ever playing an F-Zero game in the mainline series, it was an absolute blast. The gameplay runs at a crisp 60 FPS. The controls are immaculate, and my lord, the soundtrack is to die for. Any racing game fan should pick this up. Just make sure that your controller is best equipped to handle it. Of course, the next question without a doubt is going to be, will you do F-Zero GX2? The answer to that is 100% of course I will. It's just gonna take some time while I work through other games. Be sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Also, I stream all of my challenge runs live on my Twitch channel and here on YouTube. If you'd like to check that out, be sure to subscribe or follow me on Twitch. The link to my Twitch channel, along with links to my other social media accounts, can be found in the description. If there's a challenge run you'd like to see, you can also check out the description for a direct link where you can submit your ideas. Thanks again for watching, everyone. See you in the next video. Oh, dude, 4 strength, 4 stam, leather belt. Level 18.